Hello, hello, hello. JoeHart here. Person with disabilities, primarily invisible disabilities. I'm going to continue to try to go in the direction of having shorter streams and continue to go into the direction of having more shorts. And one of the plans, I mean, I have a lot of ideas running around my head, and they're, but I'm trying to organize them. And one of the things is I think by doing shorts, it will help reduce the static in my head. I think that's what it's going to do. So it will keep me more on topic, more succinct, more, so that's what I'm thinking is going to be helping. And that's the reason for hello, hello, hello. What's up, Bee Survivor? How are ya? Good to see ya. Woohoo, Bee Survivor. Hey, Lyndon, how are you? Man, it's good to see you. I'm so happy you're here, Lyndon. I'm so happy. I know you're kind of quiet. You don't type and you don't talk much, but I appreciate you being here. Come here anytime and just hang out. And I just love it. So thank you, Lyndon. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So I'm good. How are you tonight? I'm doing pretty well. I did a short, which was nice. Those are always good to get under my belt. And I'm trying to get more organized with everything. Baines, is that you? Lyndon, I keep forgetting to ask Lyndon, his middle name, but Baines, is that you? That name sounds familiar. For some reason that rings a bell, Baines, but yeah, Baines, is that you? What a humorous person you are. So, yeah, Lyndon probably isn't going to talk much, I'm guessing. I don't know. I mean, he might, but we could keep asking him his middle name, but I'm not sure if he's going to tell us. And, for that matter, I mean, it will be weeks before we even think about his last name, but, to delay the excitement, currently it's just Lyndon. And I think yesterday we decided Lyndon, not Baines, but that's just because he didn't respond. So I don't know. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Every 24 hours is, I stayed up last night until like 5 a.m, and I was like chugging through printing things up and getting ready. And I was kind of focused on, New York City and Madison Square Garden for the basketball games Thursday night and Saturday night. And I was just prepping whether I was going to go or not. I was just prepping because, even if I'm here at home, I'm going to, still use the same paperwork. So I still needed to print up stuff. But anyway, I stayed up till 5, and then I went to sleep, and I woke up at like 8 or 8:30 or 9 or something. And I was like, I got to do this. But all today was, I'm not going to, Madison Square Garden. I'm like, oh, Joe, figure it out. But similar to, I think I said for, it ended up, I went to Albany, but I think one of the things I said about Albany is that, when I decided that, I probably am not going, my car is not fixed, so I can't go. It is fixed now. But, I thought, I can't go. I felt relieved. And then ultimately I did go to Albany, at least for the second night. So, it's just, there's a lot of moving parts. And when you don't have much money, you got to, figure out, Planet Fitness and feeding a cat, when you don't have in and out access to the car and stuff. So I'm like, I'm not going. So anyway, I have no idea if I'm going, but same thing. I'm prepping, I printed up the rosters for the games and stuff like that. So, it's going to, but it felt good, the short, what's tonight's stream is hashtag This Week in Motorsports. FormulaE NHRA MotoGP USF and plus. I always put and plus because I get off topic, or it's not off topic, it's my topic, so anyway, that hashtag This Week in Motorsports, that's my hashtag. It's a trademark, it's a service mark. I've used it for several years, 12 years or something like that. And that's where I built up, following 60 series and then 90 series and then 120 series and then, 160 series. And then, I got up to, I don't know what the max was, but I think it was 237. So I got up to 237 motorsports series around the world. And, that means I call it tracking them. I was tracking them. So, there was, I don't know if I can say I follow them or if I track them or I don't watch them, because, you don't have, for Russian and Chinese and Asian and, there's not TV channels that we have or even live streaming channels that show their stuff on a regular basis. So I can't actually watch it usually, but if one piques my interest and I'm like, yes, that's something I want to, that was that other question. Does it pique your interest? That was the question. Did I know about the topic beforehand? Did it pique my interest? And did I learn anything? That was the question I forgot yesterday. So, but yeah, that's the thing, if they pique my interest, then I drill down more and find out where it is live, if I can watch it. So, anyway, I need to print up everything. So I had 237 schedules for 237 series. And, not everything is weekly. NASCAR is weekly. And, yeah, definitely piqued your interest. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like that Haas, Haas sound like it definitely piqued your interest for sure. So that was kind of cool. But, that's, I think it's always a good idea to pique people's interest, because that's what they want to, that's the deal. They're not going to watch stuff that they're not interested in. I mean, I had I have helpers that do research for me. And, when I did research for, Idaho 4, I just researched everything that was important. I didn't just focus on things that I was interested in. I mean, that's not a good example because I was interested in everything, but, I didn't play preferences. If there was a boring, whatever those 96 page things, whatever those were called, when they came out public, no matter how boring it was, I was going to print it up. I needed, so I've had a couple people say, well, it's not what I'm interested in. I'm not going to research that. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought you were a researcher. So, anyway, it took me that anyway, I didn't, it was just a difference between two people. So, but yeah, anyway, that's the goal, is to pique interest, with everybody, to, say, hey, and plus, again, getting back to the what are they called? The shorts and the reels, I can always dream about growing and having more viewers and stuff, but, that will also be, getting them to, getting feedback about the shorts, but also topics. People go, wow, that was really cool, but why don't you do the other 10 team owners of Formula One, or why don't you just do the criminals of Formula One, or so whatever a topic can pique 10 people's interest, but it might be for different reasons. So again, Haas, it might be do other American team stories or American driver stories, or do criminal stories, or do, immoral, it could be just whatever. So that's the cool thing about shorts. And I'm coming up with a my personal opinion, I'm coming up with enough good topics that, I'm like, oh, okay, let me, whatever, do a shakedown on that. And, I can't think of the words I'm trying to think in my mind, but, just start original and then do the script and then enhance it and then do the research and then get it down to 60 seconds and then, put it out. And then it's like, yeah, that was, anyway, and all topics are different. The short I did today, I think it's my 9th or something. I think it's my 9th. And I personally would say there's so many good topics lately. I mean, there really are, they write themselves, like, when Chase Elliott breaks his leg, poof. I mean, that's a story, and then, I'm going to do a story about COTA, Circuit of the Americas, coming up this weekend for NASCAR, at Austin, Texas. But, that could be, Chase Elliott's driver substitute, Jordan Taylor, who is Dust Storm. So, that can be, so anyway, it just seems like there is a lot, and the Mercedes, Toto Wolff I really like Toto Wolff, and Toto Wolff is very smart, and he's the team principal of Mercedes. And I don't know where he's from. I think he's Austrian or something, but he's a really sad story. I'm glad it's in the front of your brain. Randy's. Whether I go to New York City or not, I'm going to be watching some of the motorsports and basketball or not. And if I stay at home, I'm going to be doing both or not. So I think I'm going to be watching part of that race. I mean, I got to see Kimi Räikkönen. Race. So I'm going to watch that race. So I think when I see Jordan in it, Dusty Storm. I think I said Dusty, and then I said Sandstorm, but maybe not. I think Dusty Storm's a musician, right? And she, I don't know that kind of music. I think she's country. Dusty Storm or Dusty someone is a really old musician of like the 40s and 50s or 60s or something like that. Dusty's Springfield or Dusty. Anyway, I can't think of her name. Anyway, so I'm gonna watch. So I think if I watch, like I've seen him in IMSA and I've seen his interviews and I've seen his father, so I'm like, I'm not gonna get to know him. But when I see him in COTA, that I love, and NASCAR, I love, hate, but he's probably going to be racing Kimi, and so anyway, I might start remembering his name if I actually watch a race that he's in recently, so anyway, I think I'm going to improve upon the name Sandstorm, Randy Sandstorm. After Sunday, I think I'll improve greatly on his name. But until then, B, you can be my helper for sure. Okay, so the shorts are cool, and I think you're right. There's so many good topics lately, and I think it is a good idea to get prompts from other people too. Of I'm sure I will encounter dozens of people, if not more. For some reason, it just stuck with me. Well, I'm glad it stuck with it. And I don't want to give you any more research than you're already doing, but I think his videos are kind of funny. You know, I think when he changes from, you know, Taylor to Sandstorm, you know, he does skits. I think he does skits with his car and then without his car. I think he does skits. So it's amazing how much I know about him, considering I don't want to watch him and I don't really watch him. But, you know, on Twitter, I hear of things and I see things for like 3 seconds and then it passes by. And so anyway, you know, and he's quirky. So anyway, for some reason, it just stuck with me. Randy Sandstorm. How did he come up with that name? What the hell? You know, in Sandstorm, you know, like, I mean, I don't want to think about it too much, but IMSA is generally American, you know, North American, but primarily United States. So there's not much sand. You know, we're not really, you know, maybe Arizona, but I don't think they race in Arizona. But, you know, there's not much sand, I don't think. But, you know, Formula One is in Saudi Arabia and Dubai and Qatar, and, you know, so they have plenty of sand. So they go, oh, Sandstorm, I'll be Sandstorm. So anyway, I don't know how he came up with it. So, okay. So enough about shorts. I'm sure I'll talk about plenty of shorts on this thing. This is my, I haven't made it. Last week, I briefly talked about trying to make this in the computer so that I can pull it up and share it with y'all. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. That's too much planning. And then it's going to be too small and then you can't read it. I mean, you can't read this stuff anyway, but, you know, so anyway, so this is for this week. And again, I don't know how many series I'm really tracking, but I'm probably tracking 50 or 40 or 60 or I don't know. I don't want to count it because it's not 237. So it's just, so I've added a couple recently in the last month or two, I mean, week or two. But I'm also getting rid of a couple, you know, the ones that they're too small. They're too minor. You know, I need to make everything more efficient. So anyway, it's, I don't know if I can, hopefully that won't mess with my light too much. No. Anyway, I need to see it. So anyway, you know, and I have a system that I don't need to talk about, but basically these columns, you know, there's basically 3 or 4 columns. There's basically the first column, and that's the date. And I write everything, you know, if it's Thursday through Sunday or Friday through Sunday, I write every day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, you know, so it gets really busy there. And this is the series. So it's like Formula E or NHRA or NASCAR, and NASCAR has a billion of them. So that's really hard. And then the third is the location. So it would be like Sebring Raceway or COTA. And if there's like COTA, it used to be circuit. I write the language I write in. The international language for me is Twitter. So when I talk of someone like Randy Sandstorm and his real name, Taylor, and his first name begins with an R, but his real name, you know, I talk in Twitter handles. That's my, anytime my pen touches to a paper, it's the Twitter handle of that thing. So anyway, that would be, okay. So, you know, Circuit of the Americas, I really like, and it's really special. It's Formula One. I try to get there. I tried to hitchhike 3 years in a row because I couldn't afford the $800 worth of gas, and I couldn't fly because then my cat couldn't go. And it was, you know, so I would spend 3.5, you know, I would leave 8 days in advance. And I'm like, God, I've got tons of time. I'll get there in 8 days. And 3.5 days later, maybe not 8 days, but a lot of days. But, you know, 3.5 days later, I'm still in New York. And I'm like, boy, this is not going to work. I'm not going to make it. So I had to turn around. I didn't want to get to Missouri and then decide that I'm not going to make it, and probably by Oklahoma, the race would be over. I would have missed the race. So, I try to, anyway. So, COTA's special to me. And so it used to be Circuit Americas was the Twitter handle. And way back when, Twitter accounts have a handle, which it used to be non-static. I mean, non-dynamic. It was static. You couldn't change it. And then it had a name, but you could change your name all the time. It's not really it's not a name. You can change it every day. You can change that. But the handle, you can't change it, or at least initially. Now, for the really important people, they can change their account. So anyway, it went from Circuit Americas because they're new and they wanted to become famous and blah, blah, blah. And then they became so famous, they became COTA. So for Twitter, it became COTA, COTA, Circuit of the Americas. And anyway, the only reason I'm telling you that is it's short. It's COTA. It's all capital. I don't write it exactly like the handle because they're not cursive. What's it called? Uppercase and lowercase. They're not case sensitive, but you can enter them any way you want, and it comes up. So anyway, for COTA, I rewrite it. So I do capital COTA, and then if there's room, because it's only 4 letters, I then do the hashtag. So I do the hashtag, which is the same thing, hashtag COTA. Same thing with NHRA. That's an event this week too. So NHRA is the Twitter handle, that's all I talk in. Everything I talk about is Twitter handles. And then it's short, so I do the hashtag NHRA. NASCAR, there's, it's already takes more than a line, and then it gets crazy. And, then I'm like, do I do the Twitter handle or do I do the shorthand or, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's kind of the location. COTA is the location. And then the 4th column, which is kind of miscellaneous or other, but it's a lot of times the location. So that I used to enter all the weather, so I would, like every week I would have 8 to 10 different cities in my weather listed. And so that I would know the weather going on at all those 10 locations, the 10 biggest, it was my own priorities. I picked whatever, so it would be, Russian weather and Japanese weather and, Europe weather. And, so it had local time. So I know what time it was and stuff. So anyway, it's kind of crazy. So that's kind of what that is. This is this with these highlighted colors and stuff. That's kind of 10, 11, 12 years old. I mean, it's a really old system, and it's fine. It has fine-tuned itself, but it's generally the same thing. So anyway, I try to do them in priority, but then when you forget, and then you have to add things. So anyway, so the top priority so this week in motorsports. So that's what I would be going over this stream now. I'm going over this piece of paper. So it's relatively small. So the most important thing on this list, which is first, which is also the first thing in my description, is Formula E. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, no kidding. But no one can read it. It's too bad. I had a psychiatrist that helped me get tested for disabilities, and she was priceless. But she would see my things and she'd say, okay, tell me what all the colors mean. And then she'd go, because I know they mean something. She says, I know they're not arbitrary, so tell me what they mean. So it was nice that she helped me, bring some of my neuroses and quirks and idiosyncrasies out of my mind and onto, because she was like, I know they mean something. And this is nothing. The TV, where's the TV? Oh. TV's got to be here somewhere. Oh, I want to show the TV. Can't you tell I want to show it? Anyway, I'll show TV sometime, but you know, a line of like 12 words, you know, of, you know, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. is NASCAR Cup Series qualifications, you know, at Atlanta Motor Speedway and on FS1. Well, you know, there's 12 words and I have 5 different types of colors in that one. So, and it all makes sense to me. So anyway, okay, so, but I talk in Twitter. So, #1 event is FIA Formula E, which again, I add more Twitter handles and hashtags. FIA is not the sanctioning body. Formula One is the sanctioning body. It's hard to describe FIA. They're like the governing body. I don't know how to, they're related and similar, but different. And it's not English. I think it's French, like Fédération Internationale Automobile. So it's the federation, whatever that is. But anyway, it's and it's the short I did. I did a short about Formula E. It was pretty cool. I liked it. But this week the race is at Sao Paulo, Brazil, and it's race number 6 out of 16. That schedule has changed so many times. When it first came out, there's a lot of TBC, you know, to be confirmed or to be announced or to be determined, but they, you know, get mostly the shell of the schedule, but they fill in the dates and stuff, even if it's to be determined. And this is worldwide. So, you know, they only race on Saturday, and then they found, you know, I forget where, but there's a country that said, no, we race on Sunday because that's the Sabbath. And we're like, oh yeah, we got to do that. So, and this is you know, hundreds of races. They're all Saturday. And in one country, it was like, no, it's got to be Sunday. So anyway, I think it's weird that NASCAR is all Sunday. IndyCar is usually Sunday. Formula One's always Sunday. It's kind of weird. I mean, we don't race in Israel. I'm sure if we did, it'd be Saturday for sure, which is good. No, if we raced in Israel, it would be on Sunday. So anyway, yeah, I don't, so race number 6 out of 16, lots of changes. I might be able to guess the cities. We did Mexico City, round 1, Diriyah, Saudi Arabia, round 2 and 3. Something in India. Yeah, I forget. Some country that starts with an I. And then the one I forgot last night was Cape Town of South Africa, which we've been trying to go there for 2 or 3 years, and we finally got there. Yay! And then Sao Paulo. So that's the 6. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. So so I think it's cool stuff, you know. And I said a lot of this in the short, but you know, it's an electric motor. There is no acceleration. It's 100% torque. It's torque. It's just 2 gears. That it's immediate torque. That's the only word to describe it. It's immediate torque, no acceleration. And I tried to make the noise of the engine, which wasn't a good idea because I'm not good at noises. But you know, it's a whir. So almost like a rocket, almost. But it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to give it a shot. I don't think it's necessary. We don't all of us need a carburetor or a fuel injection. It's pretty cool stuff. So also during the short, I listed some of the drivers. They have this thing that you can vote on the driver of the day, and it's you know, a lot of people don't like it that the top 3 that are voted. Fans vote on drivers, just fans, and then the top 3 voters get extra power during the race. And people are like, the fans have, what are y'all doing? That has nothing to do with racing. And but anyway, one of the drivers, Stoffel Van Dorn, he came from Formula One, so he was small fish in a big pond at Formula One. But then when he came to Formula E, he was a huge fish at a really small pond. And he was number one all the time. So he generally wasn't doing super well in races, but he was always getting this kick of energy just because he's famous. So anyway, in the short, I mentioned, I picked my priority, the 5 most famous drivers. And it's hard to do because a driver that's famous in Formula E, just because what he's done in Formula E, is not a famous driver. So it's, I have to pick ones that are kind of famous in IMSA, kind of famous in IndyCar. They've done it elsewhere. So people are like, oh yeah, I do know that name. So anyway, I say give them a chance. They're pretty cool. In the short, I described how you can watch them live. They're really international. And they have, when they go to their website, which their website has been greatly improved. I could talk about that for hours. But anyway, they have this thing of ways to watch it, ways to watch. And you click on that and you pick your country, and it has every single country listed. So you click it and then it tells you where to watch it. Now, United States, I list, in the short, I listed some of that stuff, but it's not easy. It's not real easy to watch this stuff. It's not like you can turn on ABC or CBS or, it's CBS Sports.com, CBS Sports app, Formula E, FIA, FormulaE.com, same thing, FIA, Formula E YouTube channel, so it's not, you can't just, and then ultimately the race, you can find the race live. It's not easy. It's not simple. It's usually an app, CBS Sports app. And, it's, I don't know how they do that, but you can't sneak on to like an ESPN app unless you have ESPN on your what's it called? Your channel. I'm blanking out. Subscription. If you're not paying for ESPN, you can't sneak onto it. And I'm like, how do they know that? They send you a code and you give the code and it says, now your TV is active. And I'm like, who is watching all this stuff? So anyway, so if you really do have CBS Sports, which is not CBS, it's different, CBS Sports, then it's not easy. It's not easy. I can't give you 3 steps to get there. But they do a free practice 1, free practice 2, qualifying, which there's a couple of different rounds in the qualifying, and then the race. And they used to try to do that all in one day. They kind of do, but now the free practice 1 is a previous day. And they do a shakedown, but shakedowns are fun. That's the first time the car gets on the track. It's usually dusty. It usually has sand. It's got a lot of troubles and stuff like that. But anyway, it's a pretty cool thing. I followed Formula E way before it started, before the first race. I had followed it for at least a year. So I've always, I'm not from Vermont, but I live in Vermont and I'm a tree hugger. I mean, you could, I know my car doesn't reflect being a tree hugger. I apologize for that. That car was given to me. I'm a Toyota, Honda, Hyundai kind of person, and I like gas mileage. If I could afford a Tesla, I would love to have an electric car. But driving a Cadillac isn't. It's old. It's, my sister gave it to me. So I am a tree hugger, whether I'm driving that or not. I am a tree hugger. So I would prefer supporting, I don't like that I support, a series that burns 10,000 gallons of gas every weekend. That's what NASCAR does, 10,000 gallons of gas every weekend. And that's what it was a couple of years ago. So I bet it's even more now. But that's I would rather do electric. So anyway, it's cool stuff. Well, that was just one thing. Now, the second one on this list, which is not second in my description, is the USF. And that was because it's too long to, USF doesn't really describe it. I don't know even what. Woohoo! That's a lot of gas. Yay, man. They just go through it. And they, if you scream at them, if we did pickets, like what's the? I think it's Formula One. Formula One, the world's most famous motorsports that has the most money, and there's $1 billion worth of sponsors and everything. They had picketers. I don't know what's the protesters. They had protesters that broke into a barrier and walked onto the track as a race was going on. So the race had to be paused. I mean, obviously, but they didn't mind. They got onto the track and sat down. So the picture you saw, the memes, you would see cars driving past 3 to 5 to 7 people sitting on the ground on the track, and the cars are going by. So anyway, that's Formula One. So if NASCAR, who's more hillbillies and hickish and, Southern rock, yeah, I mean, it was wild as heck. So if we, I'm a tree hugger, if we picketed them and we petitioned them and stuff, they're pretty adamant. They say these are the most efficient engines we can have right now. And we are really, I don't know what it is. I think it's 4 miles to the gallon or 5 miles to the gallon or something. So it's hard for them to sell that, but they're adamant. They think they're doing the best thing. Anyway. Okay. So USF is my number 2. It's kind of hard to explain. IndyCar had 3 other. There was 4 series in IndyCar. IndyCar was the top, and then Indy Lights, and then a couple others. But they used to be owned by everybody, by the same people. And then IndyCar broke off, and then the other 3 were bought by someone else. So they had to change their name and stuff. So Indy Lights, which is a perfect name, Indy Lights became Indy NXT, which was Indy Next, even though it's spelled NXT. And that doesn't make sense. And then the other, so they're really complicated now. And then they added an X run. So anyway, most of IndyCar series, the lowest ones, are all performing at Sebring this weekend. So Neferlite, hey, what's up, Neferlite? It's good to see you. I'm JoeHart. I'm a person with disabilities, primarily invisible disabilities. I'm just going over my This Week in Motorsports. I'm just talking about that. It entails the events that are in my description there. Formula E is this week. NHRA is this week in Arizona. Formula E is this week in Sao Paulo, Brazil. NHRA is this week in Chandler, Arizona. MotoGP is this week in Portimao, Portugal. USF and the lower level of IndyCar, which I was just trying to describe now. I don't know how to describe them. They're at Sebring. And then there's a few more, 24 hours and stuff. So that's what I'm going over right now. So anyway, USF Pro Champs, which is all the series below below IndyCar. And the 3 that are at Sebring is USF Pro 2000, USF 2000, and USF Juniors. That's a new one they added this year. So that's Sebring. Now, Sebring has had, hello, Neferlite. There you go. Hello, Neferlite. Neferlite and B Survivor, you probably are both aware, but in case either or both of you aren't aware, I'm broadcasting to 8 platforms or destinations, and not everybody can see. Each destination can only see their comments, so it's kind of, it's tough. I'm like, wow, I want it to be one community. So anyway, Neferlite, that's why I highlighted yours, so everybody can see it, like the YouTube people. And then B Survivor is super nice, and I think she's a mod, and so she welcomed you. She said hello, Neferlite. So anyway, that's I'm on StreamYards doing 8 destinations, but YouTube is probably the most common, or whatever. But I love having you here from Twitch. So thank you, Neferlite. So okay, and then the next one, the third one on my list, which is the second one on my description there. Again, it was because the Twitter handles were too long. So the third on this is NHRA, which is #NHRA, and it's at Race WHP, which is Wild Horse Pass. I don't know the scoop. I've never been there. I don't know if there's a bunch of wild horses, or I don't know where they got the name, But NHRA. Now I think I've been to 2 NHRAs or maybe 1, and I don't want to encourage or discourage anybody of going to NHRA, but it wasn't if I can steal someone's quote, it wasn't my cup of tea. It was but for me, it was mostly a not safety. It was from a sensation point of view. I kind of have sensory, distortion, sensory something disorder. I'm really into sensories. I'm really into noise and smells and sound, and it can get me, especially if I don't know what it is. Noises really bother me unless I can figure out what they are. So anyway, I went to NHRA in Epping, New Hampshire, which is the closest track, but it was intense. Everybody, all the macho dudes were walking around. This is the coolest thing. You'll love it. And I'm like, I don't think I'll love it. I'm not like you. And they're like, yo, you'll love it. So I got pretty close. And the first time, the fastest cars, funny car or top fuel, funny car. I think funny car is the most powerful, and then top fuel is the second most powerful. And they're all pretty powerful. But 10,000 horsepower. 10,000 horsepower. So this is 12 to 14 different NASCAR Cup Series cars together. So you take any of the NASCAR cars and get 12 of them and put them together and then put them on one car. So this is 10,000 horsepower. So anyway, they took off, and it used to be a quarter mile, but then they started going over 300 miles an hour, so they had to shorten it to 1,000 feet, and they're probably going to have to shorten 1,000 feet too. They're just too freaking fast. Isn't that intense? I mean, it was a quarter mile forever. I mean, that's what people talk about is quarter mile, hot rods do quarter miles and stuff. And it's like, nope, they do 1,000 feet. They're too freaking fast. Anyway, I didn't hear it necessarily. I heard it. I mean, I'm sorry. Sorry. I didn't hear it. I felt it. It was in my chest. I felt that car in my body, and it was the worst feeling in the world. And so they only go 2 at a time, but they go every, 3 to 5 minutes, or, they go pretty fast. As soon as they can get them out of the way, they send 2 more. And so because they only do 2 at a time. So when you have 180 people for the weekend, you got to get them down the thing a lot. So I was like, man, that is not okay. So I moved 50 yards back. Same exact thing. I felt it right through my body. 50 more yards away. It was and that's what, all the macho dudes, that's what they love. So they're like, this is the coolest thing. And I was about to cry. I mean, I wasn't really going to cry, but I was going to leave. I was going to leave. So I went 50 yards away again for the third round. Way too intense. 50 more yards. So now I'm 200 yards away. That's what is that? 2 football fields. Is that right? A football field's 100 yards. Yeah. So I was 2 football fields away, and it was still too intense. And I'm like, I can't do it. And so I got way, way, way far away, but I had to make sure I had Wi-Fi and electricity. So then I just, started doing my stuff and just ignored the event. And I think I just haven't been back since. I mean, it's a really intense thing. So I don't want to discourage or encourage people to do it. I don't want to. Some people love that stuff, but 10,000, I want to try. Well, like I said, I don't want to encourage or discourage. And I mean, people love that. Plus it's 3 seconds. Plus it's 300 miles an hour. 3 seconds, which is intense, 300 miles an hour, and you feel it. You really don't hear it. I mean, you're hearing it, but it's like I think we have 3 parts to our ear, the inner and the middle and the outer, or the cochlea or whatever. I mean, every part of your ear plus the inside of your brain, everything's hearing it. I mean, it's the most intense You just feel it. So anyway, I haven't been back, but I track them. They're still, I rank all these things, especially the top 7. Formula E is 0 because that's more than ground zero. And then 1 through 7, I rank them. 1, 2, 3 is NASCAR, 4 is IndyCar, 5 is IMSA, 6 is NHRA, and 7 is Formula One, which that was done several years ago. I would probably change that. If I were to change it, which I won't because I got to keep my system. But if I did change it, Formula One might be 0, but I'm not sure. It probably would be 1. So Formula E would still be 0, which means it's better than 1. Formula One be 1. IndyCar would be 2. I definitely would move NASCAR back. And IMSA and NHRA, I'd probably stop numbering them. And, anyway. So, and then I have MotoGP. That's not, that is the next for me. So, I also like to focus on when it's the first race of the year for the series and when it's the last race of this is right. The last race of the year for the series. Now, during Idaho 4, January 1st, January 10th, January 20th, there were a ton of Middle East series that did 4 weeks in a row, and they did January, 4 weekends in a row. So January 4th, 11th, 18th, 25th, and then they're done for the year. And then, January 18th, 25th, February 2nd, 4th, and then they're done for the year. So there was a ton. I mean, people, they hear about what the last race of the year. We're just starting. There can't be. So there were a bunch of those, but I missed them. I was doing Idaho 4, which was, I'm glad I did Idaho 4. So, anyway, MotoGP, which is huge. It's, I wouldn't know how to, I don't like motorcycles. I'm sure I've driven a motorcycle, but I don't really remember driving a motorcycle. I certainly have ridden on a motorcycle as a passenger, maybe 3 or 4 times in my life, maybe 5-10 miles at the most. But I am confident, sober or not. I mean, I've been sober for a long time. So if I was sober and I owned a motorcycle, I'm positive that I would be dead. I'm positive I'd be dead. It's not. There would not even be a question whether I would be breathing or not. Sober, that's sober. Anyway, it would be, so I'm not really into motorcycles, but MotoGP is huge. And I don't know how to compare Formula One and MotoGP. I guess 4-wheel cars always will win out, but MotoGP is mighty close. The same thing like Formula One. They do, I don't know how many races, 23, 24, 25, but it's 1 per country, 1 per country, 1 per country, which is wild, So anywai, MotoGP is at AIA Portimao, which is the city in Portugal, Portimao, Portimao, Portugal. So that's a pretty common track. Some of the regular series that I follow race there. Now, things are changing, not because of I don't have much time because I'm trying to do the live streaming and the shorts and stuff. So I can't focus on 237 series. So I'm trying to get rid of some and streamline and all that stuff. But the priorities are also changing. During 2022, at the beginning of the year, which, started right away, the first Sunday of 2022, I was at a track. And then I was at a track for the next weekend for like 17 weekends in a row, or something, a lot. I don't know the exact, but a bunch. The beginning of 2022, I knew of SCCA, Sports Car Club of America. And, it's kind of like all of us, just the general public could own a car. And if you have money, you could register it and you could race. So these would be, these are cars you own, my Cadillac, I could race my Cadillac, so you would just, so I knew about it, but it wasn't any big deal. And then I started, that's how I got Dakota. I got involved. I was at an SCCA event, Homestead and Daytona, I think. And I got to know the radio, announcer. This is an internet radio, and they were super nice and they loved me. I don't know why, but they loved me. And so I was like, hey, if if I could get media credentials through you. And I said, I don't want a job. I don't want to affect my SSDI, but if I can get credentialed. So anyway, we're like, yeah, well, we could try to do this. And it never evolved, but it's because anyway. So that's how I got Dakota. I was media with them And so by the end of 2022, I was like, oh my goodness, SCCA is huge. And it's challenging for me, but I probably went to 6 events or 7 events or 8 events, which is probably 2/3 of their schedule. I can't, there's different ways to describe that. So by the end of 2022, I was like, OMG, this is the direction I'm going, and I can get credentialed. I can get to a NASCAR track through SCCA, and then they know me, and then I can go through to the NASCAR credentialing. So that was my idea. Anyway, this radio station lost the entire contract, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So anyway, it's currently the next one in my line, and it's not in my description. SCCA is the and plus. So anyway, it was this meteoric, up and down, all in 2022. So it's depending on how shorts work out and my live streaming. 51 minutes, 52 minutes. I definitely want to focus on an hour. So anyway, SCCA official, SCCA news are 2 of their handles, and all their handles are dated. They're like someone hasn't used the account in 7 years, but they haven't updated. Anyway, that was one challenge I had with them, is no one was on Twitter. I would do all these interviews, and so everybody was asking about cars, and they took care of the car questions. I wasn't. I could have asked some of those questions, but I wasn't as knowledgeable. So every interview I said, and are you on Twitter, and why not? It was like 5% of them were on Twitter, when in NASCAR and IndyCar and Formula One, and 98% of everybody is on Twitter, and that includes drivers, crew chiefs, owners, sponsors. Everybody's on Twitter, and that's how you blah 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 blah. So anyway, they are going to be in all this story, and they're in California. So Button Willow Raceway and Button Willow, California. That's where they're going to be. And then then they get less popular. 24-hour series used to be a pretty, like a medium to high series for me, but that's going to drop by the wayside too, because of my too busy. And then TCR, South America, TCR, touring car racing, I think. So touring car is pretty big in racing, and then there's one for every country basically, and then one for every region, and then one for every, so they're all over the place. And that's going to be in Cordoba. I think that's Spain, I think. And then FIA, a lot of the electric series are popping up all over the world and stuff. And so, FIA, which is huge, I say NASCAR probably has, 100 series that they either own or sanction or have their name in it. But FIA probably has more. They probably have 130 series. And again, they're Europe-based and probably London-based. I don't know, except it's French. So, I mean, the name FIA is Fédération Internationale. Automobile, l'automobile, L' automobile. So if it's a French name, it's probably based out of France, I'm guessing. I don't know. Although French used to be the international language. So I don't know where they're at. So anyway, it's FIA, and I can't read it. Anyway, it's a Alco. Anyway, there's a word I can't read my handwriting that reflects that it's electric. When this name is in it, I think Echo, or I can't read it. FIA. Oh, ECO for ecological or whatever that word is. So it's ECO and then Rally Cup. So and that's in the Czech Republic. So anyway, that's all I have on this. But again, I'm tracking 40 or 50 series instead of 275 series or 237 or whatever. So that's that. I probably didn't want to spend too much time tonight. I want to get back to my shorts. I hope to do 2 more shorts tonight. I love the shorts. I love it's a good process. And I mean, I still stress out, and it takes too much time, and I try to make it too perfect. And then, once I make a mistake and I have to redo it, then it, the second gets worse, and the third gets worse, and the fourth gets worse. And, then I'm like, okay, stop. But generally it's a really nice process. So I hope to do a second and a third short tonight. I knew I'll probably do This Week in Motorsports, which, I gotta. Anyway, I love the what is that? The script, the teleprompter. And I know people are like, oh, I didn't think you're on a teleprompter and stuff. But I mean, I don't want to. I know when you're an actor and you're on stage, you're not supposed to break the fourth wall. You're not supposed to, what is it? Suspended animation or suspended belief or whatever it's called. I owned a theater, but I can't think of the word. But, I know you're not supposed to do that, but I don't, I use a teleprompter, and it's cool. It's fun. I love it. It helps me. I really like the shorts as well. Cool. I'm glad you do, B. I really appreciate you watching and you giving me feedback. And yeah, thank you so much. I think they're, anyway, I was talking about them earlier in that, the one I did today on Formula E, like I have different ways to categorize them or judge them or rank them and stuff. So in the most basic way, I would say my Formula E is the best video I've done, but I don't mean the topic, because a lot of people will be like, but I don't like an electric engine. I'm not going to listen to it. As far as the topic goes, probably the Haas F1 about the Russia. That's probably the coolest topic. And then Chase, Denny's penalty is probably number 2. And then Chase breaking his leg is number 3. But I would rank them in a different way. So, yeah, I mean, I think, anyway, I think the one I did today, I was the most calm. I was mostly pretty relaxed with the script. So I was trying to sound off script or, whatever. And again, I'm not trying to hide it, but just, I want to be able to look at the camera. And so anyway, there'll be different ways that I'll look at it, but for that way to judge it, I think it's my best video, that I'm the most calm. And yeah, anyway, so I think it'll be pretty cool. I want to, oh golly, I kept leaving that stuff on. Now that I'm ending, I'm going to take them off. So anyway, so I think I'm going to end there. It's 59:12. So I think hour would be great to focus on, even 45 minutes or 50 minutes. I talked for 12 minutes before I jumped on anything tonight, I think. So anyway, I kind of want to shorten them up. Everybody's got lives. I talk too much. I talk too long. I gotta, I gotta get out here and greet, Lyndon, certainly when Lyndon stops by, and I'm sure he's going to come by every stream forever and ever and ever. Lyndon will be here every stream, I'm sure. And Lyndon not Baines, or hopefully we'll find out from him if he's Baines. So anyway, so to shout out to all my streams, I'm streaming on my laptop right here on the StreamYards, and I'm able to stream to 8 destinations or platforms. Lyndon not Baines. Amazing how he shows up every time, though. I love seeing him. It's so nice. He's on one of these other platforms, so people don't see his comments, or he doesn't type anything. But when he does, it'll be on a different platform. I'm not even sure which one it'll be. But anyway, so the 8 that I'm broadcasting to, I want to thank you all, and feel free to make comments here, local, resident to here, and also make comments resident to there, wherever you want to make comments, or not at all, but it'd be great. So thank you all right, Joe, I'll talk to you later. Good night, Neferlite and chat. Well, thank you, B. Thank you so much. And yeah, Lyndon not Baines. So thank you, Facebook profile, Facebook page, LinkedIn profile, my 2 YouTubes, YouTube Heart, my JoeHart PwD's 8641, and then my kitty cat Francis apostrophe assistant, and then Twitch, thank you, and then my 2 Twitters, Twitter JoeHart 901 and Twitter Twitter Ray Great Zambini. That refers to Jack White from the White Stripes. I held the account for him in case he ever wanted to take it. I wrote him and he said he didn't care. But it's Ray Great Zambini. That's who he thanks on one of his albums. I don't know who it is, but that's my account. Ray Great Zambini. So anyway, thank you so much. I'll try to check out my I did a lot of sharing and stuff. So anyway, check out my what are they called? Shorts and reels, and follow and subscribe and all that stuff. It'd be really cool. So okay, that's it. I'm going to hit end broadcast twice. I still haven't checked the end of my video. I remember it at this time and go, I got to do it, but I never do it. But I'm going to hit end broadcast twice, then check my 8 streams, and the comments will still be active. And then when I come back from my 8 streams, I'll hit leave studio, and then that's when the comments are gone. So I will just type my usual, not usual. Thank you. And everyone. And everyone. So that will post 4 times as always. And so that's it. So I'm going to end broadcast in 3, 2, 1. And then I'm going to hit it again, and I'm going to count up once I count down. Bees, thank you for the smiley face, B. I'm sure that's the way you really look with that smile. Okay, so end broadcast in 3, 2, 1.